Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this Harmony and Health long COVID event, Navigating a Path Back to Health. And this is our last session planned in our 10 session series, which started back in March. And there's been a lot covered really since then. I'm joined by most of the team today. And today is going to be a bit of a recap of what we've explored, and also a chance to talk about and get some guidance on how we can use the material day to day or week to week. So I'm Julia Outlaw, and as you know, I contracted COVID nearly 18 months ago, and long COVID, and it is a bit of a roller coaster. There's not a simple answer, there's not a quick fix. And in my experience, there's not a really direct way to target particular symptoms and then, feel better overall. It comes in cycles. You need to adapt. It affects everyone differently. And it makes very clear the interconnectedness of us and everything in our bodies and our minds and our emotions. And it needs an approach that is multidimensional and natural, I feel, and that's what our aim was as a Harmony and Health team when we set out to make something or offer something that could help people come a bit more back towards balance, back towards harmony and therefore health. And some things work for some people, some things don't. I know the content of this course has been personally very helpful for me. So we're going to share a bit of a recap today on that in this gathering session. So 2 parts. First of all, I will hand over in a moment to John and Hannah, and they're going to talk about embodiment, and embodiment as in making friends with your body. And quite a lot of the material we've done on this course has been related to that in some way, making that connection to your actual physical state, which can help it naturally heal. And then we'll talk about nutrition and food, both food that you eat or drink for your body, and how we've addressed that in terms of type and eating to cycles, etc., warm and cold, and also food for the soul. So some of the things we've done around that more subtle harmony around soul food, poetry, stories, writing, art, music. And then finally, some of the specialist input that we've had along the way. There's been lots of different inputs, which are all on our website with resources, but we'll just give a quick recap there too. And then part 2, I'll talk a little bit about routines and how putting this into a sort of daily routine, some of these elements can help in many different ways, actually help towards healing. And we've got a few examples to show you, and we can talk about that. So I will start by handing over to John and Hannah.
Okay, thank you, Julia. So we've called this first section Embodiment, making friends with your body. For too long, particularly in the West, our mental faculties have laid claim to being the self. But we are just as much our body and our emotions as we are our thoughts. Over 100 years ago, the founder of my own discipline, the Alexander technique, insisted that mind and body could not be separated. They are aspects of a whole. What he said was based on his own experience and that of countless people he helped with his method. At that time, there was no scientific research to support his claim. But now, increasingly, it is being recognized that the mind, body, and emotions continuously interact with and influence each other. In approaching a healthy, harmonious life, we need balance. And for many people, one key factor is to get out of the head and connect more with the body. That doesn't mean going to the gym or taking up jogging, especially when recovering from a serious infection, though there can be a place for that. It means cultivating awareness. It is not about dominating your body, forcing yourself to endure difficult postures or do endless repetitions. It's about making a relationship between mind and body, listening to what your body needs, to rest, to move, to express, to eat, to sleep. Over the past 5 months, we have introduced several ways to begin to make those connections. Aromatherapy, foot massage, constructive rest, various kinds of gentle movement, and especially important to respiratory diseases, natural breathing, freeing up the respiratory apparatus with no holding, no forcing, but finding more freedom and ease. All this material is available on our website, and it's free for anyone who has attended any of these workshops. So explore the videos in your own time and even invent your own gentle, fluid movements. Do try what's suggested and find what works for you. We would like to hear from you about your experiences, and we are planning a follow-up event for people who have followed the course. The feedback we have received has been very positive, but we want to hear from you more. What is working? What is not helping? What would you like more of? Then I'm going to hand over to Hannah, who will talk about some other aspects of working with movement in the body. So Hannah.
Hi everyone. Thank you, John, and thank you for the whole Harmony Health team and all the participants. It's been a pleasure to share this journey since March. It's been very rewarding. Like, thank you for all the feedback and comments. I've been guiding several creative movement exercises. Some of them have been very calm, more like mentalization exercises, but usually there has been some movement involved. And I would like to tell you briefly why there has been such exercises and why I think it will be important to continue that type of exercises. So basically, if we start from the illness, that really provokes several kind of emotions like fear, sadness, uncertainty, frustration, worry, and so forth. And many of these feelings are very uncomfortable. And these feelings, they can cause very strong bodily sensations as well. And these bodily sensations, which are caused through the emotions, they also might interact with the ongoing illness. And maybe we can't cure the illness right now, but there are many ways how we can make us feel better in any case. And actually, the creativity and imagination, they are very powerful tools to make us feel better. And these are kind of tools which we maybe don't think in the first place when we are struggling with health issues. So we might think more of the medical visits and some medications, and maybe you focus on these strong sensations of fear and sadness and so forth. But actually, there is a quite gentle way out from these kind of emotions, at least for a little moment. And this kind of relief can be achieved through creativity and imagination. And these kind of creative movement exercises, they can really help us to find the beauty and peace in the body, even if it's not functioning in an optimal way. So when we can really try to give a rest to ourselves, both physically and psychologically, in the situation we are in. And also through these creative movement exercises, we can get to know our changed body, because there has been a lot of changes. So we also might feel that the body we are in right now, it's somehow unfamiliar and we don't know this body. But through this very gentle embodied exercise, we get to know our new body, our changed body again, and really learn to listen, observe. Okay, how is my body right now? And what do I feel? And what do I need right now? So talking a bit about these emotions. So for example, instead of being afraid of moving or being afraid of the reactions of the body, we can try to find the beauty and curiosity for these very small, gentle movements, which are often can be accompanied, for example, with nature visualizations. That's why I chose this real background. I'm at a lake in Finland right now. So it's really these nature visualizations, they can help to kind of overcome the fear for movement, or overcome the fear for certain bodily reactions. So we can also try through this embodied exercise, we can try to understand and accept the bodily reactions. So actually our body is trying to tell us something. It's trying to tell us that right now we are not well, and right now we might need rest, or we might just need to take it easier and kind of give the body the time it needs. And luckily, our bodies are very dynamic, and we will recover over time. And by learning to find what is good for us in terms of resting, nutrition, movement, social relationships, and so forth. So there are many kind of psychological elements also what this creative movement can introduce to us. But then there are also biological processes in the body why this kind of peaceful creative movement exercise would be good, because through these kind of exercises we can shift away from this kind of stress reactions and enhanced stress hormones in the body, and accelerated sympathetic nervous system, which is this kind of a fear reaction in the body. We can shift more towards the calmness and really calm down the stress hormones and activate more the parasympathetic nervous system. So there are both psychological as well as physiological reasons to do these very gentle exercises. So even though you might get tired easily and you might find it challenging to move, I encourage you to start with something very gentle. So over this series, I have introduced you several ways to do very, very gentle movement exercises. Thank you.
Thank you both. And yes, they've been great doing those gentle movements, and with the music and the soft words as well, actually, to occupy the brain. I know you're absolutely right, Hannah, at least in my experience, there is so much fear, and certainly early on when you can't breathe properly or you're trying to recover and not much is known about what's going on. And it can ease with that gentle movement, and the natural breathing is just so crucial too. Thank you both. I'm going to hand over now to Eleni to talk about nutrition, food for the body and food for the soul. Eleni.
Thank you, Julia. Throughout this 10 series of workshops for long COVID, we looked at food. The reason we looked at food is because one of the things we do every day, except breathe every moment, is eat. One of the principles of harmony is oneness, and everything in the world is made of the same elements. We are made of the same elements as the herbs and the vegetables and everything around us. So it makes sense for us to be able to balance what is inside us, to use natural elements, to use the foods. So in these workshops, we talk about what diet to follow and what to do during different seasons. But first of all, we need to recognize our type. and our imbalance. So we go through the different types of people and the different principles inside us according to the Ayurvedic ancient Indian medicine. And we learn what we need to do to balance these different elements. But one key thing is that whatever we eat needs to be digested properly. So, and we find that lots of people who've had long COVID tell us that one of the problems they have is that their digestion is not so good. So we talk during these workshops about the ways to help our digestion and what are the common mistakes that we do that could affect badly our digestion, and what are the rhythms that we need to observe, and what are the usual practices that we need to do, like what kind of routine we need to have, like whether we need to do intermittent fasting or avoid to eat certain times of the day. So all these little snippets of knowledge are shared in the various sessions. And we introduce some recipes that you can use to cook, some herbs. Herbs are full of the same elements as us, and they can help us relax. They can help us. They can help the food that we cook become more digestible, and they can help us sleep better. So we have simple recipes in our resources that you could use. A list of things that you need to do to avoid too much fire or too much of the different elements inside us. We talk about seasonal drinks because sometimes it's easier to use drinks, teas, or refreshing drinks to help boost your digestion rather than cook complicated foods. And we talk about the connection between the gut and the brain. And it's difficult to change your brain the way you think. So it's good to start with the way you eat, and by having a certain kind of diet that then through a complex system, which science only starts to discover with a gut microbiome, influences the brain. So by eating the right way, in the right rhythm, and drinking the things that are suited to your type and to your digestion, you can then help you become more balanced and harmonious. And these few ideas and more are shared in our workshops. So please do have a look. And I think that there will be more coming up that we can share to help. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Malgorzata.
Hello, I hope my connection will be stable enough. Thank you, Elaine and Julia. Yes, so as it was told, our mental health and mood and emotions are very much connected and have a big influence on our general health and our path to recovery. So what we also covered in our workshops is how can, as Hannah said, creativity, or what we can broadly call art or culture, help us. It is, of course, it can help us because it is food and fuel for our brains. Our brains hate to be bored, and boredom only accumulates and makes us feel exhausted, and really makes everything much harder. And also the feeling of loneliness or being scared, those are emotions that really can cripple us in our path to recovery. So really, art and culture are these elements that can help us in this. And what things like music, like poetry, or like even art as visual arts, geometry, for example, brings us is those patterns and feeling of order and of peace that is really well acquired for a brain, and give us moments of feeling awe and feeling beauty that takes us away from the moment of being scared, from the moment of, oh, my body doesn't work as it's supposed to. So those elements like art and looking, for example, at beautiful pictures, paintings, or listening to music can take us momentarily away from this worry, sensitive emotions of worry and of being scared. But also art and culture can give us meaning, can give us feeling of connection, of course, and means of expression. So even if right now we cannot feel, we feel things, but we don't know really how to communicate them, literature, poetry can give us some patterns, some ways of expression to really connect with them and express what we are feeling ourselves. And that also can give us ease and feel a feeling of connectedness to others with similar experiences, for example. And we covered that. We covered sacred geometry. Julia told us about those patterns that connect us with the world, with nature, but also which is covered through art. And we told ourselves some stories, heartwarming stories, and life admiring poetry. But of course, we can use art, we can use creativity like writing or drawing to also get in touch with ourselves, with something what is going on in us. So we covered drawing to self-diagnose and writing as a therapeutic tool. But we should not forget that art and creativity, the modes of creativity, can also be just simply entertaining. And entertainment, so this fight with boredom, should be really helpful in these moments of, well, I'm stuck in a house, I cannot move out, so let's have some entertaining activities. So having fun, just watching or listening to some funny stories, watching some funny movies can be helpful. So if we can, of course, then active creation like singing, dancing, drawing, or writing could be very useful. But if not, even passive exposure to art, like looking at the picture, watching a film, or listening to music, can soothe our soul and give us a moment of relaxation, of peace. And to sum this up and show that the words do have some actual power, an anecdote from Hazrat Inayat Khan about one Sufi who was healing a boy, telling him whispering some words and saying to his parents, now he will be well. But his opponent said, how can words, some words, how can you think that some words can heal anybody? So the Sufi answered, you understand nothing about it and you are a fool. So this man got very, very offended. His face went red and he was, hot in his body. So the Sufi said, you see, when a word has the power to make you hot and angry, why should not a word have the power to heal? So yeah, with that, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. And yes, I think, I didn't realize, before quite how much we do need these different impressions and food. And certainly for most people, not even those with long COVID, this last year, in a way, we've been starved of those new experiences and connections and meeting people. And it's so important. And especially when you're healing, to get something that connects you with, well, for me, something that connects me more with humanity and with life, just really helps everything come a bit more into balance. So yes, definitely look at the recipes too. I know, Eleni, your rice pudding was literally a lifesaver with the spices in. Okay, briefly now, there's a few specialist inputs that we had, and I'm going to just ask Sarah to talk briefly about those. Sarah.
Thank you, Julia. I just have a smile on my face from listening to everybody, and the wealth of knowledge and experience that we've shared on this course is just wonderful, and doesn't just apply to long COVID, to many other aspects. So hopefully we can take it, all of us, into all these avenues of our life. I wanted to just briefly remind everybody, maybe you were at the sessions or maybe you weren't, like myself, but we did cover two very specialist areas that personally I wasn't that aware of. The first one is the vagus nerve, which is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. And I highly recommend, even if you were at the session, that you look back at the video and just listen to Eleni and Julia just talking about it. I've done it a few times, and the message really is very much in tune with our message from Harmony and Health, which is about connectedness. So the vagus nerve, without being a scientist or a doctor, what I understand is that it connects everything inside your body back to your brain. So it's a nerve that starts, you can think of it as going down into the body and then back up. It connects the brain to the ear, to the tongue, to the esophagus, to the heart, to the lungs, to the colon, to all of your internal organs. It's a nerve. And then those organs send messages back to the brain. So there's a loop. So there's this continuous information loop going on inside ourselves that connects us within ourselves, so that actually our brains kind of know what's going on, and that can manifest externally, which we have been experiencing with this long COVID. Eleni also mentioned that it's not actually the words, so let's not get bogged down in thinking, what is the vagus nerve, and then going Googling it and intellectually understanding it. Actually, what does it mean and how can it help us? What it means is that there's various systems working within our bodies, so many, and it's so complex. What we can understand from the vagus nerve is that sometimes we need a specific approach. That could mean going to the doctor, it could mean having medication. Often we need a more holistic, general approach to bring us back into the parasympathetic so that we calm and our nerves calm down, which Hannah has already touched on. So any of these methods we've spoken about today, if you can try to implement a few of them in your day, then you'll be doing your vagus nerve a lot of help. And the other area, I'm sorry to be so brief, is we touched on cognitive fatigue management. Our wonderful Dr. Joanna Byers. Again, I recommend you look at the video. She explains it so well, and she breaks it down into just 4 P's, she calls it. And I'll just say what the 4 P's are to help us come out of this, what she calls firefighting, so that we're not caught up in our day and we're unable to do anything. And already as I speak about that, my breathing has gone. So we don't want to be stuck in that. We want to be a little bit more planned and ready for our days. And she says it's the planning, active prioritization, positioning, and pacing, so that we conserve our energies and we have a longer trajectory to our wealth, to our health and our wellness. Hope that helps.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. Yes, and all of the information about where the different elements are in the workshops is in a document that we will email to everyone who's been to any workshops. It's all quite clear on the website as well. So there's been a lot, and whilst we're reflecting on it now, or perhaps you've watched some of the videos and you're now watching this one on a screen, what do we do with it? And the presenters have given some ideas. Pick something that appeals, try it. There's so much advice out there. I know at the beginning I was, I think, made more stressed by the possibilities of things I could try. There was try this diet, try antihistamine diet, don't do this, try staggered exercise, what does that mean? And actually you're sort of stuck in wherever you are, and there's something about stopping and taking responsibility for your own health and for how you feel in that moment. And routines is a key element of that, I think. They have their benefits, they have their limitations. But if you think about it, even if you're doing nothing, you are in sort of a routine. I think for many long COVID sufferers, there's that spiral of you can't really move much if it's at its worst. You can't sleep very well with post-viral insomnia. And those both feed each other, along with your digestion not being great. And so there's this sort of spiral, and where do you come in to try and make a difference? And I think what I've learned, and we've talked about a lot on this course in the various sessions, is you just come in somewhere, just try something small and see if you feel better for it. As Elaine talked about, getting the digestive fire going had a big impact, at least on me, and I think on many people, because when you can eat, then you have more energy to maybe try some gentle movement, and sleep follows. So there's that sort of basic routine of what you do in the day. And routines generally, I think they give you a bit of grounding. You know what to do. You know, everything was so uncertain. Certainly conventional medicine, you know, understandably didn't know what to do. There wasn't clear protocols. It gives you some grounding, something, right, I'm going to do this today at this time. And you can be as strict as you like or not. As I was thinking about this session, I thought about when I had babies and the advice there in terms of, well, you could go sort of Gina Ford, they must eat at 7, but they must poo at this time. Or the sort of other end, attachment parenting, where you can do whatever you like. The babies can choose, every day is different. And I think, as most parents find, it's somewhere in the middle. And I think an approach somewhere in the middle for something like long COVID recovery is appropriate. So it's empowering, it gives you more energy if you have a routine with energizers in it. And yes, it may be repetitive, but I think there's benefits in that. So we're going to give a few examples of what a daily routine may look like, just using some little elements of what we've learned in this course, and a couple of examples. So Anne, who couldn't be here, who you may remember from the Aromatherapy course and the feet course, has written what she does. She doesn't have long COVID, but just to keep her more in harmony, her day. Perhaps I'll ask Sarah if you wouldn't mind reading that.
Sure, I have it here. So this is from Anne. My little personal enhancement program would include, for example, on waking, a glass of water and lemon, gentle natural movement exercises in my own space with some rhythmic breathing and just a few minutes of reflection and meditation. Anything from 5 to 20 minutes, standing, sitting, or lying, according to my form on waking. I may choose to be in the garden or terrace or by an open window where I can be in touch with some greenery, nature, and fresh air. Followed by a shower where I will stimulate my skin with a bristle brush or just use my hand firmly to stimulate my skin. I use cool or cold water to finish. Light, nutritious breakfast in accordance with the time of year. Today, the food I eat will be pleasing to my eye, nose, and taste, however simple and little I feel like making. The table will be attractive and welcoming to me. I will not hurry, but savor the food I eat today to aid my digestion and absorption of nutrients. During the day, I will take a walk where I may choose to focus on, for example, the fragrances and sounds I encounter en route, without labeling them. The shoes, boots I walk in are my friends. They are old and have followed me everywhere and know my feet well. I do not mind they look old and do not fit in with the rest of my attire. I allow myself to stop and listen, to stretch and breathe fully, to take in all of my surroundings. If I do not have the energy to walk, I can do the same at an open window or from a park bench, etc. Another day, I may go for a swim or find a different location and terrain to challenge and inspire me. After my walk, I will hold my feet and give them thanks and love with a pressure hold or massage. This transfers to the whole of me. Today, I will discover a piece of music I have not heard before, which resonates with me well today. If I feel like it, I will dance and hum. I will make my favorite tea in a cup which is very special to me and which gives good feelings. This makes the tea extra pleasing and refreshing. I will write a little sentence or words to end my day. Or I may say some words to myself if I do not feel like writing. I will sleep with a sprig of an aromatic herb or flower near me, or a special photo or picture. I will allow my mind to let go of repetitive conscious thinking and take some slow breaths to float into sleep. I will not judge or compare this day to any other. It has been special and empowering to me in its own right, regardless. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so beautiful and poetic, really. And, you know, I know she doesn't do that every day. And, you know, we can't all have the perfect day every day, but I think that's what it's saying in a way. You had your day, and it's choosing what you do in it. And for those sort of more visual people who like to plan, you may find a little template helpful or something to think through. And I'll just share my screen. And you can see this very simple daily routine. So here's morning, in the day, and night or evening time. And I've just put the 4 things here which are critical for health: moving, resting, eating. And I called the last category joy or other. I would put in here soul food, creative activities, seeing nature, cuddling someone, anything that makes you feel a little bit better, even for a moment, nice smells. And you may find that it's helpful to have a specific time for something, or to be more detailed here, or you may even just have it very, very brief. But having some elements of these in your day may help. For me, it's changed a little bit, my daily routine. Certainly since before contracting COVID, it's now very different, but also over the last year. I'll just show you an example. So very briefly, moving in the morning, just getting out of bed at the same time, if you can. Some days you can't, but if you can. And obviously that begins to happen as well if you're getting out of bed at the same time. Some gentle qigong I found invaluable. 20 minutes, I just follow what the lady's doing on the screen and I feel good that I've done something. And I think it got my body moving, it got my lungs moving first thing in the morning. And I was breathing because I'd done some movement and exercise, as opposed to breathing because of anxiety or lack of breath or some other reason. So some movement in the morning. I've started body brushing. A friend who's recovered from Lyme's disease recommended it. I think it's helpful, feels good before a shower. And using just nice smelling things, basic self-care. But for me, those little things make a difference. Applying cream gently for yourself. You're looking after yourself because you feel pretty rubbish with a disease like this. Getting the sun on your eyes in the morning, back to moving, perhaps a walk if you can, even if it's just sitting somewhere, being outside. And then on a moving, getting outside again, as much as possible, really. For me, at least, that gave me different impressions that helped, and fresh air. Sitting or stretching in the evening before bed as well. In terms of rest in the day, it depends so much on what type of day you're having, how much rest you need. And sometimes you need less than you think. You're actually better going for a walk or moving. But sometimes you really do need to lie down. And most days I found, or still find, I need a lying down rest at some point, even briefly. Yoga Nidra or some of the, we had a lovely Feldenkrais awareness through movement session, or some of Hannah's creative movement sessions, where you just gently in touch with your body with very soft movements and using your awareness to calm down and rest. And another thing I found critical was not spending too long at any one activity, whether that was reading or walking, or certainly on the computer or phone or talking to someone. That was very, very draining for energy. Eating, we've talked about nutrition, having nourishing food according to type. For me, it helped to eat early. I know there's a lot of research emerging about fasting. I think, I like eating. I think you have to decide what works for you and try. Teas, there's a lot of recommendations for teas on this course. I became into a habit of starting with a coriander tea, having some Greek mountain tea mid-morning with saffron, which was amazing for mood. Afternoon, maybe hibiscus tea or rose tea, just different flavors and smells and textures that really help. And then in the evening, perhaps a chamomile tea to help you calm down for bedtime, or a drink with almond milk with dates. There's some gentle Ayurvedic herbs you can take that are much more gentle than standard medication. Enjoy really whatever you enjoy. So some point in the day, can I find time to pick up a paintbrush, or can I find time to just cook something that really nourishes me? And I put foot massage as well in the evening. So just an example of a day. And if you're having a great day, you could do all of this and some work, a few hours work. They're not things that take a lot of time. They're little things that happen before breakfast, perhaps a little bit in the middle of the day, and at the end of the day. It may be some days this is all you can do, or you can only do some of it. And obviously that's fine. But it's having something that you can try for a number of days and see if it makes a difference. And for me, it definitely did. I won't stay long on this, but you may wish to think about your week as also a routine. And will you try and put different things in each day? Or if you've got a particularly busy day, here's an example. If you don't get a rest one day, try to build one into the next day. This is back on energy sharing. On movement, try one or two things you like, repeat them every day. Eating, sense what you feel like each day. Yes, have a routine about when you eat and the type of food you eat, and also be sensitive each day of what you really feel like. And enjoy, connect with others if you can each day, even if it's for a short time. And maybe you plan that into your week. When will I talk to someone different? When will I see someone different? And try some of the kind of soul food that we've talked about. And this on at the bottom, day 7 or whatever day you choose, to not be bound by your daily routine, to just do something different. Do nothing, or just do something that sounds fun, do something new, or break it up and give yourself a break. So there's some examples, and they're in the resources. Also briefly, just to mention monthly routines. I know in terms of cycles, there's many cycles in nature, and we've talked about the cycles of this disease in terms of relapses and some of the symptoms, but also cycles in us. For women, menstrual cycles, I know a lot of the symptoms mirror perimenopausal symptoms or affect the hormones, and understanding that a little bit can help you manage your energy, and also for me not be so surprised by some of the symptoms that return on a regular basis. So that kind of routine I think is interesting and helpful too. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and really I'd just like to ask the team, and we can just discuss, to share overall lessons. And there's been a lot in this course, and what advice would we give? What do we find personally helpful managing our own health and well-being and harmony? And what's a message for people who are beginning to try something for themselves? Also, perhaps, Eleni, what it's like working with COVID sufferers, or anything you've learned from your research or work.
Well, I'm actually inspired by listening to you, Julia, and the things that the long way you came from when I saw you really suffering with COVID and then with long COVID, and this perseverance, not giving up, and connecting with others and asking for help and advice, and giving yourself time, and your friends giving you the space that you needed. So I think there's something about being patient and recognizing that nothing is here to stay forever, and that things always change. And that's what I see in my work, and that connecting with others just helps us a lot, because we can't do anything on our own. We need the help of our community, and then that gives us hope. That gives me the strength and the conviction that things can change and can get better. So yes, you can eat the right food, you have to digest it, but then you need the connection with other people as well, and with beautiful things and with nature. So I'm inspired by what you shared today. But also just one tip to say that things take time in the body to regenerate, probably is the word. So they take at least 3 to 4 weeks. So establishing a routine and not giving up is probably key for any of us to get to a more balanced state of being, and not being totally convinced with what happens to us, and keep going. And then after the 3-4 weeks, after we've built we've gone up one step, then we can try for the next step, and then it becomes easier.
Amazing. Thank you, Eleni. I just wanted to say on time, yes, I think it does take time and patience, and it's hard sometimes to have that patience. But like you say, if you can stay out of the way, the body wants to regenerate and heal itself, and sometimes it's just not making it worse that makes the difference. Sorry, John.
I think it's interesting to consider the difference between routines and habits, because we can very easily get into a set of habits which are repetitive. Eating badly, eating at the wrong time, a sleep pattern which is not very helpful. There's something very automatic on a low level about habits which are repetitive. But there can be something very constructive about a routine which is thought through, and it takes a bit of time to establish and to be adapted to what suits you. But to be realistic and recognize in oneself, is this a routine or a habit?
Absolutely. And always changing. Hannah, I know you've recovered from chronic fatigue and have found some of this useful.
Yeah, I had a couple of comments. First of all, like for these habits and routines, maybe you can also try to create them as rituals. So you can try to add that to these everyday actions, like how you prepare your tea, or how you cook, or how you do your meditation. You can add kind of this sense of ritual into it. It's like making it with the purpose. And then you might notice that you actually start missing these small daily habits once they become rituals. The other thing I wanted to mention is related to the time, because when I work with different kind of patients groups through my wise motion method, sometimes I have, for example, stroke patients to whom the doctors say that the time will help. But as a neuroscientist, I always want to highlight also that what we do with the time, that also plays a huge role. So we can't just like passively wait the time to pass. We can optimize the recovery if we do certain things over that time. And if you go back to these very versatile elements, what we have shared throughout this workshop, I think you can find there like these little small things what you can try to do, like aromatherapy, or eating certain foods, or having a walk outside in the nature. So kind of using the time in the best possible way, including a lot of rest, of course, and including a lot of time of doing nothing, but also having these small moments which take you forward, which kind of take you to the right direction in the recovery. So in that sense, I would encourage you to this kind of like curiosity and also self-knowledge, and trying to learn to feel what do I need right now and what is good for me, and learning to take care of yourself in that way.
Thank you, Anna.
I would like to add to what Hannah said about those little things, which was actually very eye-opening for me, that because I don't have time for anything, but I can incorporate those little things. Like I rediscovered music, for example, just simply humming for myself in the morning. I can do like 2 things. I can wake up my body and I can, create some music just by humming either to the radio or just, some tune that's waking in my head, or just, to also wake up my brain. I can just do some, like Bartosz showed us, the rhythmic, simple rhythmic exercise, which is really, I can do it like waiting for a bus or something like that. So those simple little things, but just igniting curiosity can actually reignite my very foggish brain, which I'm struggling with right now. And yeah, I find it very, very helpful.
Just to add, there's so much here. It's so lovely. I just wanted to add on this idea of being curious is to be. It took me so long to learn this lesson in life, but I think it applies here, which is to be the explorer, not to be the person looking to receive the answers, really. But maybe there aren't any answers, or maybe the question isn't quite suited for what's going on. But if I remain an explorer, then each moment is there, and it provides so many paths, so many avenues. And I find that helps me with my Alexander Technique students a lot. I see them repetitively getting caught up in, well, what's the reason, what's the cause, and what can I do about it? How about we just pause and maybe just stop and step outside of that and just be slightly more interested in what can I do less of, what can I let go of, what am I holding on to, what's bringing up this certain avenue of questioning for me. And that really helps a lot. And just to add, a huge part of the Alexander Technique is about stopping. And I'm sure it's in the video somewhere. If I could take a moment to literally just step outside of what's happening externally and internally, I may find that maybe my body wasn't ready to do whatever it was that I was doing, and to listen to that like Eleni was saying earlier, the body is trying to talk to us. So if I can stop, I become aware, I can step back and I can listen, and all the answers are there, really. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to the team, because this has got me through the last time. So we're nearly out of time, and you can find all of this on the website. We are going to invite you to a feedback session, maybe in a month, 6 weeks time, just to have a dialogue about what's working. Maybe you've tried a few things again, or some of the comments from the workshops you've seen so far. And that would be great to get some more feedback or any ideas on how to spread this more widely. And I think that's all that we need to say. Anything from the team?
Yeah, there will be some links with additional materials like websites, links to poetry or open source literature or whatever you want to find online that can ignite your curiosity.
Thank you. And just, there's been a lot of comments in the chat about kindness and compassion, and I know it's sometimes hard to find that for yourself, particularly when you're feeling rubbish, but there's definitely a doorway there. So wishing you all the very best, and thank you so much for coming. Bye for now.